Now, they're calling it Black Tuesday in France today. Scenes like this of striking rail workers starting a campaign of strikes they say will last for months. But wasn't this all supposed to be a thing of the past? President Macron's brave new world of economic reforms were going to bring the unions to heel and usher in the sort of labour laws we're used to on this side of the channel. So is this a doomed last stand of the old guard or a genuine threat that could leave the reformist agenda in the sidings? Live from Paris is Pascal Cagni. He's chairman of Business France, and with me here in the studio is Agathe Demarais. She's France analyst at the Economist Intelligence Unit. Agathe, I'll start with you. How important is this for Mr. Macron, this battle?
Well, I would say it's very important for Mr. Macron because this battle is part of wider plans to reform the French labour market, to increase the flexibility of the labour market, change the welfare system towards a flexicurity Nordic-style model, and also attract foreign investment. So this year, the government is going to focus on three main areas. As I said, reforming the welfare system through reform of unemployment benefits and also apprenticeships schemes. The government is also going to change laws in the migration system to attract highly skilled migrants, and we hope that this is going to attract foreign investors to France, in the long run at least.
All right, well, Pascal, let me bring you in at this point. What's it been like in France today?
It's a sunny day, and it's a sunny day despite the strike and the fact that this morning we announced an amazing results. We have the best results in terms of our ability to attract foreign investors in France. 1,300 projects have been essentially established, creating or maintaining 33 jobs. So in many respects, it's a very unique day. So how it is like? It's like basically being through a transformation, which hopefully will bear some even better future going forward.
But what's the mood like among the public? I mean, we were hearing today something like 4.5 million French rail users were disrupted today. Is the travelling public on the side of the union here or on the side of Monsieur Macron?
No, it would be fairly too early to say. But the truth of the matter is many people are using the best of technology to work from home. They have been basically coming back here in Paris after a long Easter weekend yesterday. I can tell you that this morning at 9 a.m., we were having a full-packed audience when we're announcing the results about this investment coming in France, which actually is the real good news of the day. No, there is no question that this strike and this process is going to be a difficult one. But as Mr. Le Maire precised this morning, the intention is to keep a public service with the SNCF. We consider that this is a fantastic company, but they need to continue to be transformed so that we basically get the best of it and continue to use it as a way to attract more investment, either entrepreneur in France or entrepreneur from abroad.
Agathe, a lot of people, I think, in the UK will be surprised at union membership in France. It's actually much lower than expected, but the unions really do punch their weight, don't they, in France?
Yes, that's right. Actually, union membership is quite low in France, but as you mentioned, unions are very powerful. However, we think that Mr. Macron is going to be able to push through the reforms. First, because, as we just said, the public is supporting the reforms and is not supporting the strikes. Around 70% of French people actually support these reforms. Second, Mr. Macron has a strong parliament majority. And finally, he can go with decrees if he wants to.
Is it any coincidence that this has blown up on the railways? I mean, French railway workers are uniquely protected almost. They have jobs for life, they have extremely generous pensions, very early retirement. Is it any coincidence that this is one of the battlegrounds?
Well, it's no coincidence. The railway system has always been a battleground between the government and the unions. And I would say that most French people would remember the 1995 strikes. And as you mentioned, the railway workers are very much protected. They enjoy pension benefits. They can retire at age 52 if they're train drivers, and they have job for life contracts. And that's the main point here. The government wants to scrap these contracts and make it so that employees of the SNCF would have regular private sector contracts. And this is quite a contentious point for his people.
I think the early retirement at 52 for train drivers dates back to the days of steam, where they all got coal in their lungs, doesn't it?
Well, it was even earlier than 52 at the time. It's been raised recently. It was 50 only a few years ago, and it's gradually rising towards 52 at the moment. Right. But this was already very contentious.
All right. Well, Pascal, you mentioned overseas investment into France. Do you worry that this kind of strike is going to deter foreign investors?
Obviously, this could be, if it's poorly portrayed, as being very worried. The meantime, what the different discussions we have with investors tell us is that they very much appreciate, and have been waiting that for a long time, that France go through a transformation. We demonstrated over the last 6 to 8 months that in a matter of few months, we basically managed to have a much more flexible workplace, which is critical when you're an investor. We also adjust all of our tax rates into the average of Europe, and we continue to offer something very unique, very precious to investors, which is a unique talent pool, very competitive. As you know, the cost of researcher in France is one of the lowest of Europe, partially through tax incentives, but also because we produce every year, like a clock, in excess of 45 engineers. All the quest of the Graal in these coming years are going to be the quest for talent. Hence the reasons why we want to produce more engineers, we want to go back to the industry, and we want to be very welcoming to the talent. All of that together should actually overpass any doubts that people may have due to a strike like the one we have right now.
All right, we've got to leave it there, I'm afraid. Pascal Cagni, Agathe, Demarais, thanks very much for joining me. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.